Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Joining our LinkedIn Live today. Guys, I have not been this excited to learn as I am to join this podcast episode with Tim Hughes. Seriously, Tim, before this episode, you already hinted of the stuff that you're going to reveal for us during the podcast episode. So I'm like, can we jump into that? But before we do this, Tim Hughes, welcome to the LinkedIn Live. Can you give us a couple of seconds of rundown of what you do and why should people be contacting you and listening to you?
Yeah, I'm not used to being this side of. I run a lot of LinkedIn Lives, and I'm not used to being a guest. I'm used to having all the buttons. Anyway, me. My background: I've been in sales for 25 years. I've worked for a number of one particular US software company, either for them or their partner community. I've now been running a social selling agency for the last 8 years. I wrote the first book on social selling back in 2016. That was updated in 2022. Social selling techniques to influence buyers and change makers. What do? We help organizations to transform to 2024 and use social as a mechanism to actually sell. So the key thing is, as I was talking to you before we came live, is this is a methodology.
Yeah.
So we position ourselves a lot along with Medic and Challenge and stuff like that, and we work with those things. But this is a methodology. It's not a bunch of tactics that somebody came up with it and they're at it. This is a methodology. I know that if you do this, you will get this result.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to unpack this because most of the smaller companies like Dream Data, well, people acknowledge us, oh, your guys are good at social selling. Yeah, but we're trying a lot of things and measuring revenue. But it's more like trying and figure out what works and then scaling that. That's why I'm very, very excited to figure out what is it that people have to do to reach those types of goals as a methodology. But let's start from the very beginning. So if you were to define social selling in a B2B context,
Yeah.
what is it for you?
Okay, I need to read it off the wall here. So first and foremost, if people sending you connection requests and then immediately basically giving a list of their services or products, that's spam. That's not social selling. Okay.
Thank you.
And if people are doing that, good luck to you. I don't think it really works. We've seen the figures of people that are doing it. It's better than cold calling, but we don't think it works, and we don't think it scales. What we see social selling is using your presence and behavior on social media to build influence, make connections, grow relationship and trust, which lead to conversation and commercial interaction.
Mm-hmm.
The key thing is that what we're doing is that we're enabling your sales team to have conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Conversations create sales. And we know, because all the data basically shows this, is that everybody's moved to social. Everybody's so your prospects are there, your customers are there, your employees are there, your future employees are there, your investors are there, your future investors are there. Everybody is there. So if you're interested in selling to people, then you need to be on social media.
That's interesting. But then again, there is such a huge mass of who are there. So how do you define how to be relevant in that type of mass of people? Because you probably don't want to sell to your future employers or to your investors. And if a salesperson, you have to be reliable by your ICPs.
Yeah, so we see that you need to do three things.
Uh-huh.
The first thing is that you need to look good to your buyer. So this is your profile, and it's the profile not just on LinkedIn, but wherever you are on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is not about you, though it's partly you. It is your profile. It's not your company's. And this is something else that companies get wrong, is that they think this is about brand. It's not. It's about in the world of social, it's about people.
Yeah.
So for example, LinkedIn publish how many people are on social media. They don't publish how many brands are on social media.
That's interesting.
And also what happens is that what you'll see is that they're promoting people in the algorithm, but they don't promote brands. So this is all about people. This is my relationship with Laura. So your profile on social media is so important. This is about what people are going to see about you. So this is your shop window to the world. And 1 billion people walk past your shop window every day. Now, what do you want them to think when they walk past you? That you're a spammer, and that you're just another salesperson that's just going to mean that they're going to become just another line on the CRM, and you're going to phone them every
Right.
month and say you're going to buy my shit. No. What you want is the person to go, I think that person could help me.
Uh-huh.
I think that person, we need to get that person in. We have customers doing multi-million-dollar deals where the customer is walking across social media and saying, I think you can help me. Can you come and talk to us? Now,
Uh-huh.
obviously the conversations after that take place just like they would do in any sales situation. But the fact that people are walking across social media and saying, can you come and help me? This is transformational. This is not running around trying to find lots of people to sell to. This is a strategic way of actually having relationship. Now, the important thing is, oh yeah, social selling takes a long time. It's rubbish. How long does, we've never met. That you contacted me over social media. We had a conversation. I probably thought, oh yeah, I know you.
Interesting.
So actually, what happens, and we know this from social media, relationships actually take a very, very short time. And as long as you're good,
Yeah.
that is, you're not salesy and you don't immediately try and sell people stuff, then what happens is that those conversations basically develop.
Yeah. I'm really, really interested in the methodology because every time we're asked about how do you do social selling, we talk about the practices, what we practice at Dream Data, what works, what doesn't work, how to enable the team, and so on. But you have experiences of really mature companies who have implemented this with success
Yeah.
and created it as a methodology. Walk me through what happens from the beginning. Where does it actually start that people would start doing social selling as a methodology?
So the first thing, it starts with your profile, which is
Mhm.
about what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that the people that come to your profile, because you're going to be doing lots of things, your profile's up 24 hours a day, 366 days a year. Your job is to get people to your profile and go, that person looks interesting. So first of all, you need to have a great profile.
Mhm.
We call it a bar-centric profile. You get a lot of people saying personal brand. We don't like the term personal brand because it makes it sound like you're trying to be like Mark Schaefer. And we go, well, we can never be like Mark Schaefer because he's been in the business for 20 years. So immediately people just give up.
Yeah.
And so it's about having a bar-centric profile. The next thing you need to do is you need to connect to the people that you're trying to influence.
Mhm.
From a sales perspective, it's about having a digital territory. Now, don't forget that this isn't just about connecting to your ICP. It may be connecting to somebody that's close to your ICP. So, for example, if you, a lot of people on social media are very snobby about who they connect to. So, for example, if a CIO is the person you're trying to get to, you're if you go and connect to them, you're unlikely to basically connect to them straight away.
Yeah.
So what you do is you connect to the people below them, and then when the person looks and says, "Oh, look, Tim Hughes, I don't know who he is, but he knows Steve and he knows Colin and he knows Dorothy and stuff like that. I'll connect to him." There's
Okay.
also what we do is we teach people how to connect to people in effect to have conversations. Now, I want to give you an example.
Yeah.
I will talk about our benchmark, but this is one individual. So Bertrand Gullier is my person in France. He started basically with zero. We'd never been in France. We'd never posted anything. We'd never
Gosh.
done anything in the French language. He started from zero. Within 4 months, he'd got relationships with 395 companies. He'd got 120 meetings. So in 4 months, he got 120 meetings, and he basically does 30 minutes a day on social.
4 months.
4 months.
It might take years for others.
120 meetings, face-to-face meetings like this,
Gosh.
and relationships in 395 companies. This is for winners. This is for people that really want to sell.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
third thing that you need to do is you need to have content. Now,
Mhm.
I understand that I'm on a branded podcast, but content isn't. Everybody produces content that says buy my product because we're
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Exactly.
So as buyers, we ignore it. We don't look at brochures. We don't read white papers. We don't read case studies because we know what the answer is. I mean, it's great producing them, but if you put them out on, people will just whiz by them because we don't read them, because we know if it's a case study, we know what it's going to say. Dream data are amazing. They're the best thing that we've ever used. So I don't bother.
No.
So some of this is about what we teach is about not just about social, but the psychology of the buyer, which quite often when you explain it, like you, Laura, they laugh, which is, well, we know that because we're buyers ourselves. And then what happens is that we go into the office and go, what we need is some case studies.
Yeah.
So the thing about it's about empowering the salespeople to talk in an authentic way, because the relationship that I have with Laura is the relationship that I have with Laura. And one of the things that brands have difficulty understanding is that my relationship with Laura, if you ring me up tomorrow and say, I've got a job with IBM and I'm going to IBM.
No.
My relationship with Laura goes to IBM.
Yeah.
And I don't have that relationship with Laura in Dream Data.
Correct.
Yeah. So what we're looking for as buyers is that we're looking for people that we can build relationships with. If you're going to spend, Salesforce is a client of ours. If you're going to spend $1 million on a CRM, you're going to go to the board of that organization and you're going to basically present that. You're going to want to make sure that the salesperson you're dealing with is going to be around for as long as you're concerned, forever. So what you're doing, if a salesperson's LinkedIn profile looks like a CV, what conclusion would you jump to? They're just about to get a job somewhere else.
Correct.
So what you're looking for is someone. Does this person have the gravitas? Does this person know the subject? Is this person rounded? So, for example, Bertrand, and the three posts that got the most engagement for him, and this backs up our data, were all personal posts.
Interesting.
Because what we're looking for when we come to social media, the hint is in the name. It's social media. It's not media. It's not brochure media. It's not white paper media. It's social media. We come to social media to be social.
I have so many questions, Tim.
we come to social media to build relationships with people, whether we're buyers or whether we're sellers. And what we're looking for as a buyer is can I see this person? And so we should. So Brian Fanzo famously said, and this was probably 15 years ago, that social media is all about turning the first handshake into a hug. Yeah. You should be in a situation where you're building a relationship with somebody that when you have that first meeting, whatever happens in the dream data, you actually come onto that and the person says, hey, so I saw you went scuba diving the other week. Oh yeah, I'm a really keen scuba diver. Oh, that's fantastic. So my business partner, Adam Gray, he plays the guitar. Behind him on the wall are some of his guitars. He's got many, but not
nice.
Funnily enough, he always sells to somebody who plays the guitar. Because the first 10 minutes is, oh, what have you got? So Adam's now, somebody basically approached him, and now Adam and him make guitars. So he's actually a guitar manufacturer. So the conversation that you get is this, people by people, and that's always been the case. And social allows you to build those relationships, and you should be doing that before you actually have the meetings.
Yeah. Tim, when you come into a large organization, let's say they have, 20 salespeople, and most of them are tenured salespeople. They do want to do sales in a new way, but it's rough. How do you enable that type? Because even for me, I'm soon turning 40. It's not about me. It's about company. How do I enable those people to both be on social and then slowly move them over to becoming more personal on social?
So what we do generally is we run pilots and we train. So what we do is we take cohorts of 10 and we train that, because we used to do things face to face, and now what we're doing is that we do it like this. But I've been to so many meetings where you've got people with their arms folded saying, "You can't teach me anything about sales."
Exactly that type.
And usually within the first 10 minutes, we'll talk about social, and you see them opening their laptops and looking up, and then because what they're looking for is, they expect when they see me on LinkedIn, as with a lot of sales trainers, they don't walk the walk and talk the talk. So they expect me, I say you need to do this and you need to do that, and they expect me to have done none of it. And they look at my profile and go, "Oh shit," and then shut the laptop. And say, "I need to listen to this." And we change people's lives. This is the best job in the world. And this is we change sales teams, and we get a lot of people saying, "Well, what we want to do is we want to carry on with the spam email and the cold calling and stuff like that, and we'll gradually phase your stuff in." But when you can get someone like Bertrand, who's got 120 meetings in 4 months and got into 395 companies, why would you carry on with the spam and the cold calling?
Yep.
I mean, it's an act of self-harm on your business.
Yeah.
You're holding the business back. Do you want to be successful in the business or not?
Yeah.
And usually what happens is that the second session that we do with people, we teach people how to connect and connect in a way to create a conversation, rather than connect in a way and pitch to people. And it's that time when people start getting meetings and they start going, this is magical. Wow. And it's just fantastic to see when we do that exercise during the training.
And the best part of it, it's also fun. So you don't have to be spammy and feel dismissed all the time.
It's interesting because so what we found is, when we started the company, we kind of never thought about, 8 years ago, did anyone really care about burnout and purpose and stuff like that? But the feedback that we've had from probably people from under the age of 35 is that I fell back in love with sales again. I hated sales. I was going to leave. I couldn't, the rejection, constantly spamming people. I didn't like it. They didn't like it. And the feedback has been amazing in terms of, I really want to do this. I was born to be in sales, but born to be in sales to do this.
Insane. Let's talk about the house, because now we've moved away discussing, okay, we need to do this. It's rough. But then when people are on board, what is it that they start with? And we actually have a question to bring us on to that line that Julie is coming up with, saying, how much time did your French colleagues spend on creating an intro message for your potential customers to get those meetings?
10 seconds.
And then her next question is, or was it a very tailored message for every particular connection? So how do you take the next step? So now we're creating the content. We need to reach out to the right buyers. What do we do?
So what we teach, the important thing is to understand that this is about them, not about you. So the mistake that salespeople all make, and I've seen this pretty much across every LinkedIn trainer, which is, this is about you. I want synergy. Do you really? No, that means you just want to sell me stuff. I mean, we know this shit. I mean, why are you using these cliches when we just know what it means? What about, hi, Tim, I heard you on your, I heard on a podcast with Julia. I thought you said some really great things. I think I could learn from you. Could we connect?
Yeah, there we go.
What, a bit of flattery. How could I not turn that down?
Yeah, come in.
The fact that I've actually reached my 30,000 is different, but so it's you got to understand that this isn't about you; it's about them. To answer the question that Julia said, also, you've got to understand that different people on different levels. Well, if you start putting out a standard message to the CIO will spot it.
Yeah.
And the CIO, I've spoken to CIOs and they're fed up of getting standard emails. They said that one CIO told me there were 2 cybersecurity companies and they were using the same email template to try and get on. And this is what happens that, if you think that, the $1 million message is luck. It's not a process. If you sent a message, you got $1 million deal, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. That's a process, and it's very different from sending $1 million message and getting one deal. This is what you need to do is you need to make sure that you're understanding the message that you're sending to the different people, and understanding some of the psychology. For example, what you'll find is that most, so say you're targeting Ernst & Young, EY, big company, 300,000 people. How do I get to the right people? One of the things you'll find about Dream Data or Ernst & Young is that all the people in Dream Data connected on LinkedIn. So if I want to get to Laura, what I could do is I could actually go for somebody else. Because Laura is even though I'm not connected to Laura probably will still see my content because I'm connected to other people in the organization. Correct. Or what you do is you would go to somebody else and you say, how can you get me to see Laura? Can you take me there?
Yeah.
So it's about using the, this isn't about, I've got to find the exact one person and I've got to basically get that person to connect.
I think it's absolutely right. And now I'm reflecting on when I get invitations to connect with people, most of the times I do connect with people, unless we don't have any mutual connections. Then I know this is definitely just a batched connection request.
So the biggest mistake that everybody makes is, and every LinkedIn trainer tells you to do this, and it's just the biggest act of self-harm that you can have on social, which is so your summary title is the most visible thing about you on the internet.
Correct.
If you Google your name, because Google loves LinkedIn because it's full of content, what you'll get is your name, your photo, and your summary title. So your summary title is there to get someone to go, that's interesting. What does that mean? Tim Hughes. Well, I think I'll go and have a look at his LinkedIn profile. Because if you've got professional edition and above of LinkedIn, LinkedIn will tell you everybody that's looked at your LinkedIn profile. So you've got an opportunity to, so I get most of my speaker deals because I will get someone low level in marketing looking at my LinkedIn profile. Yeah. And I go back to them and say, you looked at my LinkedIn profile. Can I help you? Not can I sell you my stuff? And they go, well, actually, I was looking for someone for our sales kickoff. Oh, right. I can do that.
There you go.
And there you go. So what the advice that you're always given is to write your what you do. Terrible thing to do. So I get these connection requests that basically say things like, I help CEOs with their physical fitness.
I hate that so much.
So what do you think? If I connected to that person, what do you think would happen? They're going to spam me and say, hey, I'm a personal trainer. Or I get the, I help CEOs with their bookkeeping. So I just ignore them all. I mean, as I said, it's just an act of self-harm. Why are people still doing this? And why are people still telling you to do it?
You know what the funny thing about it is? It's awful. Kind of a pre-pitch.
It's damaging to people.
Yeah.
It's hurting people. It's hurting businesses.
Yeah.
And they're still being allowed to do it.
Great. Okay.
So I want to tell you about, Laura, I want to tell you about our benchmark.
Tell me.
So we've been running a benchmark now for, this is the 23rd month, 2 years. And what we do is we've been running that across our customers. What we're doing is that we're measuring a whole bunch of things. But the key thing for us was always about how can we make organizations get conversations. So across the whole of the board, the average SDR is getting 10 meetings a week. That's 2 meetings a day with their ICP.
That's a good number.
Average. The really good ones are getting 25 a week. There's not one single demand gen usage that you can use that can actually get that level of response. I've seen people saying, I saw someone, they're using chatbots to make cold calls. They're only getting 20 meetings a month. I've seen someone recently saying he's automated all his LinkedIn. Again, he's only getting 20 meetings a month. These people are getting 40 meetings a month. Twice as much of all the other things and this is, we've been running this for 23 months. So even if your SDR's got an extra, or, even if they got 5 meetings a week, that would be better for everybody.
Exactly.
that would make us massive revenue impact. Because if you've got, and this is the mistake that everybody makes, is that they say what we need to do is we need to have challenger or medic training. So what you're going to do is you're going to train the salespeople that already know how to sell in a methodology that is they already know to sell. What they need is conversations. They need to have something that allows them to get the conversations in the first place. Then they can use medic or challenger or whatever methodology they're going to use. It's because at the moment, because they're not getting the revenue, they think we need to teach the salespeople to sell. No, you need to teach them how to create conversations.
There are a lot of things that come into this, and for you to get to that success, unpack the process. So the methodology itself, now we spoke a little bit about the beginning itself. Your profile should sell, have to start creating content, personal content. So how do I get those meetings?
So part of what we teach is the process of how to turn the contacts into a conversation. And that is probably the hardest thing that people come across, because we all have this thing that we're taught from an early age, which is we got to sell, we got to sell, we got to sell. And what you're doing is, as soon as the person sniffs that there's anything to go with, that this is a sales meeting, they're off. So, for example, when Bertrand first started, and I know he won't mind me sharing this. So I did a podcast with him recently, if people are interested.
So exciting.
Where he went through all the details of it. But the first thing, one of the first things he did, because he thought it would be good to do, was when people said, yes, I'll have a meeting with you, he sent them a Calendly link.
No.
And of course, as soon as you go Calendly link, salesperson.
Yep.
And the other thing that we're always taught in sales is you do the alternative close, which is, can I meet you next Tuesday or Thursday? As soon as you do that, they're gone, because they know it's a salesperson.
Yeah.
So this is so going through that process of how do we of going from contact all the way through to getting that meeting. Quite often, it's the hardest thing for the students to actually learn, because they're going through a process quite often of unlearning.
So interesting. But how do you balance the rush of that immediate ROI, immediate meeting booked, to having that conversation and continuing it? What are the tactics?
Because it's about consistency. When I said to Bertrand, how long is this taking you? He said, it's 30 minutes a day. He said, but you've got to do 30 minutes every single day. And he was telling me what I knew, but the important thing was that he learned that if he stopped, you immediately, you've just got to get the consistency. You've got to be there every day, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes.
And what does he do in those 30 minutes?
One of the great things that you can do, which is, so if I was in Copenhagen and we went to the place in the center where there's loads of food, which you didn't know about, we went in a restaurant and I held the door open to you, what would you say?
Thank you.
Yeah. And so what you'll find is very few people say thank you on LinkedIn. So one of the easiest things you can do, as soon as someone connects to you, what do? Say thank you. And immediately you've stood out as being different from everybody else.
Yeah.
Because the expectation, first and foremost, of connecting is that they're going to get a pitch, but you've actually said thank you. And so, but just by doing that, the person is lowering the guard down, because they get so much. We get so many spam messages. We're expecting it to be always a connect and pitch. They've seen your profile because they've looked at your profile and they go, okay, I give this person the benefit of the doubt. And then basically what happens is you say thank you, and then we take them through a process. Dominique, for example, he says, I get a lot of meetings from commenting on prospects. The other thing to do is yeah, absolutely. And what we do is that we teach people how to go out and start conversations, or create conversations. The other thing that you need to do is you need to the most to get on social, you will get most engagement on personal posts.
Yeah.
And our data basically shows that. The other thing that we teach people how to engage on that post to in effect harvest that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because whenever somebody likes or comments on your post, what they're saying in effect, and Dominique basically is right by this by saying, I am digitally resonates with me. And Tove, yes, I will get you the link for the. So I'm transmitting this on all of my socials as well. So, but I will get you the link as well, Tove. Don't worry. What you're saying when you comment or like is, this digitally resonates with me.
Yeah.
And so the fact that, you know, if I was walking down the street and holding a billboard, and someone walked up to you while you were holding that billboard and said that really resonates with me, you wouldn't just ignore them, would you? Piss off.
Yeah,
Would
exactly.
you'd go, oh, can I put the board down and talk to you about it?
Yeah. 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 It kind of, you appeared in the periphery for that person, even though it's a like, but they have seen your face and very likely also the title. And especially if it doesn't say, I help CEOs when you're a CEO and doing the post with this and that, that means, oh, that could be a nice
Yes.
conversation.
So if people come to my LinkedIn profile, you will see a very different title
Yeah.
on my profile, and one which people go, now, for example, I had a sales leader come to me and say, I think it's the most unprofessional thing I've ever seen. I think you should remove it immediately. And I left it on there. Why? Because in this world, there are two types of people I get on with, and people who think he's rattling on, and Tim Hughes, what an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk to the people that say Tim Hughes is an idiot, because I can't sell to them.
No.
So what I've done by having that title that I have, if people go think, oh, that's funny, or that's interesting, or I remember that, that's great. If people say that's unprofessional, I'm never going to sell to them, but I've basically filtered them out.
That's so interesting.
So what we're doing is that this is one of the things that people don't quite understand, because we're expecting in sales to go out and sell to everybody, and we can't. Now, there will be people, maybe that person would get on with you, Laura, and you would sell to that person. So ultimately the dream data wins. But just that Tim doesn't sell to them.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is that we're actually using our social as a profile to actually be more efficient and more effective at what we're doing by sales, because what we're doing is we're qualifying out the people that we're never going to sell to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we should be in a position, we should be in a position where we're getting, a lot of our business comes through, comes inbound. And we know that the person has actually been out to the market, they've gone through the process, they know who we are. Clearly, if they qualified us out, they don't talk to us. But they go, and we know that we're quite often at the position where, Sixth Sense say that people are 70, 80% of the way through the buying process. And most people that come to us are 70%, 80% of the way through the buying process. Yeah. And it's really just about of helping them buy rather than actually needing to sell to them. And your salespeople should be in that position. If they're good on social and they're doing things on social, they should be getting inbound.
Fantastic. I want to ask you about the other side of this. So let's say you're teaching salespeople how to do this. This actually works, but how do you go over the urge of ROI counting for the leadership? Because they would be buying your courses, but they will want also some kind of indicative results soon. And how do you start the conversations and also continue that, showing those results that this is actually working? Because you can't count it in Salesforce as easy as you can count cold calls.
No, to actually look at and measure digital, a lot of what you have to do is manual. We've looked at different tools to do it, and there's nothing legal on LinkedIn that allows you to do it, because it requires you to scrape data. What we're doing in terms of our benchmark is that the people fill in a Google sheet, and they're asked to do that on a weekly basis.
Okay.
So it is all collected manually. But the thing is that the problem with CRMs is that most of them, and I've not managed them, but been on leadership teams where we've looked at CRMs, and most of it is just hopes and dreams. and here we are as a leadership team that we're supposed to be trying to making decisions about investment in the business,
Yeah.
and we're sitting on a platform that is irrelevant. Whereas if you're collecting the digital data, so for example, how many connections am I sending? What is the percentage rate of people accepting those connections?
Mm-hmm.
How many of those connections are turning into meetings? How much engagement am I getting on my content, and how much of that is turning into meetings? I can by looking at that data, I can tell you which salespeople are contributing and which are
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Far more than far more than what you can get from the CRM. And if you took that data and you took that to the CFO can make proper decisions on the investment in the company and where the company is going
Yeah.
based on that digital data rather than what's in the CRM.
Yeah.
So it's difficult, but it has far more repercussions because it's kind of the data is worth more than what's in the CRM.
Precisely. It joins so well with marketing as well. To top this off, Tim, you're a sales leader. And when I'm asked this question myself, I always have an it depends answer. But when salespeople are creating their own pipeline through, like, I am putting this account into a sequence, I own this, if I book it, it's mine. When you start creating content, you're probably getting inbounds, but a lot of accounts are touched that are not yours as a salesperson. And if you don't have the whole team doing this, how do you count?
It's a great point. But what you'll find is that I mean, you need to work out your own rules in terms of how you police that.
Hmm.
But the thing is that if you're not creating, it's this thing. If you're not creating the content, you're not putting the bait out there for the buyers.
Yeah.
So you have to put the content out there, and it has to be, and it has to resonate. Um, so it's down to you to actually decide how you're going to police that.
Yeah. Yeah. I always find it very difficult, like, to get from that classic way of selling and saying, okay, now we're going to create the content. So are we marketing now? No, you're still sales. They're going to come inbound to you and you will have to poke some of them to get those meetings. But how about everybody else who sees my content and are in another team's quota or something like that? That's so tough, I think.
It is, and I think there's I think there's you have to police it, and I think there's a balance, and there's always been that
Yeah.
that case where maybe there's a company that was in Tim's territory and they don't like Tim, so they come to Laura and they say they want to buy stuff, and it's Tim's,
Yeah.
and you go, no, Tim will just ruin it because they don't like him. So there's always been that tension, and in a way, I've worked for sales leaders where they think that tension is good,
Yeah.
because in a way, from a sales perspective, it's an opportunity to do a land grab.
Yeah.
And actually, the salespeople, I didn't say that to everybody out there, but it is an opportunity to get as much deals as you can.
Yeah.
But you will find there will people that can't do this.
Mhm.
And from a leadership perspective, we always take people through and explain and say there will be a bell curve. And this has happened every organization that we've worked in, apart from Salesforce, where everybody was just up for it. But most organizations that we've worked for, where so even when I was a large US software company, 20% of the people said, I don't want to do this. That's for marketing, or that's
Mhm.
for,
Mhm.
and you will always get people saying that. And so we've worked at that large software company. We fired them,
Yeah.
and we went and found people that did want to do it. We've worked for Telstra, for example, a client of ours, and they paid for extra coaching from us,
Yeah.
and still after 6 months, the people still didn't want to do it. So you as a leadership team, when you're ever training people new, you've got to decide what are you going to do with the people
Yeah.
that don't want to do it, who say I can't cook, won't cook.
Yeah. That's very exciting. Tim, anything else from your benchmarks that you discussed? earlier that stood out for you that you would like to share with the audience?
No, that when I get asked that on podcasts, it's usually the burnout question.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
actually people are going, I love sales again.
nice.
It's interesting to see. We can actually say that if you have this experience, so we're using we produce a from the benchmark a business case. So
Uh-huh.
say if you invest this is the sort of money that you'll make. And we know that if you're an SDR with 2 years, this is how much you'll do. If you're an SDR with 5 years, this is what you'll do. If you're an AE, this is what you'll do. And then we build that into the in the business case. And in the business case, it's quite interesting because you can see which I can tell from looking at people's LinkedIn profiles, which salespeople are contributing and which are
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
And most people, when you present to them and you go, your salespeople are completely invisible from the modern buyer. I mean, there's I was doing one recently. There's an SDR, and you've only got 600 contacts
uh-huh.
on LinkedIn. It doesn't compute.
No,
If you're an SDR, you will have lots of contacts because you would be going out and connecting to people. It's LinkedIn allow you to connect to 200 people every week if you've got the professional edition, and you should be using them because that's
right.
your ability to have 200 conversations. And then when an SDR's only got like 600 contacts, this isn't that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's really interesting because I can see from people that have never posted.
Yeah, how can you sell?
How can you not post even if you've taken a dream data brochure and basically put it out? I mean, come on, this is 2020. It's only 2025,
Exactly.
and we show this to people, and they're going, "Oh my god!" You go, "Yeah."
Correct. Correct.
This is your business as usual. It's like, and,
Precisely.
and you're invisible.
For wrapping up the session, Tim, what is it that salespeople should start doing if they're not? The key things that you think are so important for them to remember doing in order to be more active on social and start finally booking those meetings.
The fundamental thing that you've got to do is you've got to change your LinkedIn profile,
Hmm.
and your LinkedIn profile is a story. It's your professional story and it's your personal story, and it's about working out how you're going to tell that story.
Right.
And because that's what people are looking for, that professional and personal story. They're not looking for brochures. They're not looking that you've made President's Club 3 out of the last 4 years or stuff like that. This, if you're looking for a job, another
Yeah.
sales job maybe, but from a buyer perspective, actually, I see that as like one of the worst things that you could put, because you're just going to try and sell me something and run away. Because that, reality is perception, and my perception of saying I've made President's Club the last 3 or 4 years from a buyer's perspective is you probably sold a load of stuff and then ran off. So this is about telling your story
Yeah.
from a personal perspective and a personal and a professional perspective, and that's the fundamental thing that you
Yeah.
got to do.
Yeah. Update your profile, connect with the right people, and create content. Anything else?
Well, you can do what Dominique said and do, leave comments and stuff like that. All of those things you should be. It's modern day prospecting.
30 minutes per day. Remember that,
30
everybody.
minutes a day, and you too can be like Bertrand.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Tim. It was a
You're welcome.
pleasure having you. You are a rock star. Everybody should be working with you. I'm impressed because
Thank you.
it's not learning by doing. It's you can learn from people who have
Thank you,
already
and
tried
thank you
that.
for inviting me on. And we're really passionate about it, as you can see, and love talking to you about it, and love the fact that you're using platforms like Restream.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for listening today.